Hello and welcome to this edition of Pop and Scott Talk Baseball. Another week in the books. We're moving along nice and starting a new month and all that. We're Sunday, so I'm watching the afternoon Mets Blue Jays game. The Nats are on. Dad was watching that before we started recording that. He was letting me know that. So, and also recording history maybe today with Ovechkin playing hockey. So
I got the Caps hat on.
Yeah, a lot going on today.
And the women play at 3:00.
3:00. I'm going to have that on as well here shortly after we get done with this. The national championship game. So I'm kind of pulling, as much as I love Dawn Staley, she's had hers. I kind of would like
Paige back.
Yeah, and also that Chin girl or whatever really put on a great tournament. So the point guard. So UConn's won their share as well. So it's going to be a good game. It was almost like identical. They almost won identically, like score wise. They
both routed their opponents in the center.
Yeah. So it's should be a good watch. But we're here to talk baseball. Not too much going on. I mean, I'm sure you might have some injuries and talk for us. Do you have any news for us this week?
Well, I mean, it's plenty of things. I remember last week you made the comment about you had Netflix when we were talking about streaming and some of the baseball games being streamed, and we don't get a chance to see them because they're streamed on. You do streaming, I don't. I just have cable. So anyway, you mentioned you had Netflix through your baseball package. Well, if you have Netflix on Christmas Day, the National Football League has 3 games on that day. 2 of them are on Netflix, and the other one's on Amazon. So if you have Netflix, you'll be able to see 2 of the games. I just thought I'd bring that up.
I have Amazon too. So.
Well, then you can watch all 3 games. Jurickson Profar was suspended 80 games for using PEDs. And it's like every one of them that gets caught, they all say, I didn't know why. I ate a poppy seed bun and that's what did it. They all deny doing it. They all say, I don't know. I ate something. I just had peanut butter and jelly.
Yeah. Well, most of them tell them the trainer gives them something.
Well, I went to the doctor and he prescribed this for my leg, and that's what caused it.
And if they could prove that, then they get away with it, but they can't.
Well, evidently he didn't prove it.
Yeah. But a lot of times they say it's their trainer gives them a supplement or a shake every day, and they don't know that because it's not just PEDs. They consider under the
anything that's enhancing, that's performance enhancing, anything.
There's stuff you can buy legally at GNC that are on the list. So, they need to know that list backwards and forwards. But it just seems like a lot of the who gets popped are, for some reason, the Latin American players. So I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah, well, I mean, but Atlanta's got enough problems without losing him.
Exactly.
And it looks like Atlanta's going to have a long year. Milwaukee, they're off to a rough start. They've got 7 pitchers on the IL. That's a hard way to start. They lost some talent anyway, and then they have 7 pitchers on the IL. Nathan Eovaldi pitched a complete game already. We've already had 1 complete game pitched this year. Eovaldi of Texas pitched it against the Reds. Carson Kelly, the catcher for the Cubs, hit for the cycle the other night. And he's right now, I think he's leading the major leagues in batting average. I'm not sure, but he's up there. He's smoking the ball. Garrett Crochet of Boston signed a 6-year, $170 million extension. Let's see. Albert Torres 10-day IL with an oblique for Detroit. So he's out. Lance Lynn, 37 years old, pitched for 13 years in the major leagues, has retired. He went ahead and retired. Jackson Merrill of the Padres, the young center fielder, who was outstanding. He's an outstanding player. I was watching some of the game yesterday against the Cubs last night. He signed an extension, and Christian Carroll of Boston signed an 8-year, $60 million extension. He was the number 6 prospect this year in Major League Baseball. So Jackson Merrill signed a 9-year, $135 million extension. A lot of these teams are going ahead and sign these guys early. Mm-hmm. So because if they get to free agency and they got to bid with other people, there's going to be a whole lot more than $140 million for Jackson Merrill. And the players are taking it because it gives them, they're set. They don't have to. I get hurt. I don't care. I'm getting paid. That's the way Major League Baseball is. In pro football, you get hurt, the team can cut you and get you out of a contract. Not all of it, but most of it because of an injury.
Right.
And they can get out of it, but not in baseball. Once you sign, you sign. The LA Dodgers started out 8-0, and the Padres started out 7-0 before they both lost. Ellie De La Cruz. Some people are talking for he may be in the running for most valuable player this year in the National League. Of course he can. Reds are not hitting the ball like you would expect them to the last few games. They just haven't. Ketel Marte, he signed a 6-year extension, $116.5 million with the Arizona Diamondbacks.
That's a huge signing for them.
Yes, but
that's a great keep. That's a great keep for them.
But yesterday he was playing. Here again, we're taping on Sunday, so the Friday night game against the Orioles. He hit a ground ball, ran to first, and his hammy went out. So he's on the IL. That's big for them. They brought up this rookie yesterday, and he hit a triple. They brought up a rookie to put in his place. Trout has hit 3 home runs in 3 games. And he looks real good at the plate. He said this is the best he's felt in years. And the Orioles pitching staff, their starting pitching is in such a desperate. They brought back 35-year-old Tomoyuki Sugano, who pitched in the major leagues a few years ago and then went back to Japan. They brought him back. He pitched yesterday, and I actually did a good job. He pitched 5 1/3 inning. He started getting hit, walked a couple of guys in the 6th inning, and they took him out. But he didn't do bad. But that gives you some idea of the Orioles starting pitching, which I picked the Orioles to win the American League East because the Yankees lost their ace and another pitcher. But now I kind of think the Yankees are going to do it, or one of the other teams, because the Orioles, they got the lineup, but their starting pitching is, they open the clown car, and the guy that starts the 4th night, he's a busboy from Applebee's, and then on their 5th starter, I think he's Danny from Danny and the Ding Dongs back in the 1980s. It's just. They just don't have any. It's horrible. They don't have anybody, and their bullpen's not bad. That's
why I don't understand why Bauer is not signed. I don't get it.
Last year, their bullpen was 27th in the end of the year, mainly because the big man was hurt. They didn't have a closer. This year, they're in the top 10, even though it's early, but they're still in the top 10. But their starting pitching is woeful. Now, Pittsburgh's just the opposite. Pittsburgh's got 3 or 4 2 great starting pitchers and 2 good ones. And then their bullpen, that's a mess. And they come in and they just get rocked. And so it's kind of funny. The other thing is last year, I won't do it all season. I did it for the first few weeks last year. But I looked it up this morning, and there are 14 teams in the major leagues with losing records. and 2 with 500. So the good teams are beating up on everybody else.
Right.
And
I'm kind of predicting that more teams are going to be right at that 500 mark than well below it or well above it. It's not going to be. I think that league has sorted itself. They've almost put themselves here in the last 2 years on a self. What the other leagues have. They have a soft high mark, high number that they can't go over, but they almost staying under that. And the teams just, even the teams that spend a lot, like the Yankees and Dodgers and Mets. The Mets this year kind of stopped after Soto. They signed Soto, and then that was it. Everybody was expecting the next big signing. I guess their big one was Pete, and that was very low. And then the Dodgers, they just pay everybody 20 years from now. So, I feel like there's a lot of self-policing going on in the league right now where a lot of teams are very similar.
Well,
and we've talked about it ad nauseum for the last 2 years. This is the third year we're going to talk about it. Pitching is a premium in this league.
They don't have the salary cap the National Football League does.
Right.
The other leagues have salary caps, but they're not like the National Football League.
Right.
But the thing is, they do have a floor, and each team gets so much money, and they're expected to spend that money. Well, teams like Miami and Pittsburgh don't spend the money; they just take it and keep it. But they claim, and that might be rightfully so, is some of the free agents they talk to don't want to come there. They want to go to some team that's going to contend, so they'll sign for less money. With the San Diego Padres or the Chicago,
you have to sign players and keep players to continue.
They can pay their own, and we'll find out. We'll find out about Pittsburgh when Skeen's contract comes up.
And you already feel like they're not going to sign him. If not, why haven't they gave him an extension? If you're going to give somebody an extension, there's your guy. What are you waiting on?
Well, it's the second year. It's the second year. He's got 2 more years before he even got a.
I would go ahead and give him his extension.
Well,
his number, if he keeps pitching the way he is, his number is only going to get higher.
Yeah, it's just the way it is. I mean, these owners, they're billionaires for a reason. And anyway, that's just the way it is. Some of them want to spend, and some of them don't. Some want to make a profit. So it's a.
I don't really understand what. I wish Baltimore would come out and say why they're not trying to get any pitching. Why didn't they upgrade their pitching? Oakland, or not Oakland, whatever they're calling them, the A's.
Sacramento.
Whatever, they look like they're making some moves. The Pirates made a couple of moves, but they didn't get any better, like you said, in their relief pitching.
They didn't bring in any marquee players, but they're better a little better hitters, but their bullpen. So well, I'm just saying now it's early.
They don't have the depth as some teams. When you got McCutchen as your DH, that shows you your depth is a little lacking. But I just feel like Florida has they didn't do anything. They have Alcantara. They have maybe one other pitcher. I look at their lineup, and they've been playing above their heads, I think, and they'll probably should prove me wrong and make the playoffs. But they don't scare. There's nothing there. If I lived in Miami, as much as I'm a baseball player, and somebody goes, "Hey, you want to go to a game tonight?" and I go, "Is Alcantara pitching?" No, who they playing? And they tell me some other team that I don't care about. I'm not going to the game. There's no reason. So, I'm sitting here looking across the league, and that's when I see the bad teams. But the very good teams, they've made smart decisions. The Dodgers have spent a lot of money, but like I said, the players they signed agreed to spreading it out over 20 years, where like some other players like Soto doesn't want to do that. And, that's fine. But, the Mets didn't really – they lost some pitching. They didn't make any moves to try to strengthen their pitching.
Well, the one thing about that deferment, the teams that defer, and the Dodgers aren't the only team that's done that. There's some other teams that have.
No, I'm not saying. I'm just.
Well, here's the point. The point is they can come back like next year and take some of the money that's deferred and give it to Otani or Yamamoto or whoever they want to pay as a bonus.
Right.
And they can take some of that, so they don't have to wait the 20 years to get all the money. They can take some of it. The National Football League does that with the salary cap, so they can get a few more free agents. They restructure a contract that's already been signed and give the guy a bonus out of the contract, and therefore doesn't go against the salary cap. And that way, or it does, but it's not as much as it would be the salary. So there's ways to move around that. The teams that complain about the Dodgers and the Yankees, you can do the same thing they do. Make the offer. If the players don't take it, then you made the offer.
Right.
Don't sit there and complain about the other team. Don't try to make the league tell the other teams they can't do it. You do it. It's the same thing with the torpedo bats.
Right.
Don't complain about a torpedo bat. Buy some.
And players are using them. And the Yankees had a huge game. You haven't seen much difference after that. And there's players all over the league using them.
I watched I was watching this morning. I was watching before I went to church, I was watching the highlights on MLB. And every game was home run, home run, home run, home run. I mean, they're hitting rockets, and it's not even hot weather yet. And there are people hitting rockets all over the place. And it wasn't all torpedo bats. The other night, Max Muncy was playing for the Dodgers. Plays third base for the Dodgers. He made 2 errors in the first 2 innings, and whoever they were playing scored a few runs. Then, this was at home. In the eighth inning, he came up with 2 men on and 2 out, and he'd been using a torpedo bat he had just got. And he left it in the dugout, went back and got his old gray bat that he's been using for the last 5 years and hit a 2-run double off the right center field wall and tied the game up, and Otani won it in the 9th with a home run. Mm-hmm. So I kind of agree with what Muncy said after the game. The bat's got nothing to do with it. It's the guy swinging it.
Yeah. And people that are complaining about it, they made the hitting area smaller on the torpedo bat. They just made it by their theory is that's the greatest now space of
that's
wood.
Where you hit the ball the most.
The thicker part of the wood by narrowing. They didn't make the barrel. They just narrowed the ending of the barrel and left the middle part of the barrel the same size. It's all they did.
They've got to leave it. Everything's got to be within the weight range.
Right, because there's like 3 rules. One piece of wood, it's got to be within a certain weight to length tolerance, and it only can be certain width. That's the rules, and all those rules fit that bat. And like I said last week, there's an evolution of the bat. They have a great place up at the Hall of Fame for that. People were complaining about the axe handle bats a few years ago and all this stuff,
this bat was developed by an engineer from MIT.
Yeah, but still somebody's got to use it and hit with it. And the theory of it is kind of weird because if you swing a bat, if you're the guy swinging it, balance is everything. And most people like their balance in a certain area. Balance, I don't mean that it weighs the same at each end. Where the what do they call the center of the balance of the bat?
It's a sweet spot.
And it's not necessarily the sweet spot. That's where you want to hit. But for me, I like my bat when I played. I like my bat heavier at the end. From where my hands were. Some people like it more in the middle, some people like it closer to the handle. I like a thin handle with more weight at the end. So it all differentiates. And I think with that bat, it's going to be harder. You have to relearn how to hit with that bat. And the Yankees did well for 1 game. I mean, it's home run derby. Nothing's going to change. It's been like that now for 5 years.
Yeah. 5 or 6 years, it's been home run. I mean, I'll give you. I've seen more You sent me that thing from TikTok about the bunt. I saw that on the highlights. About 2 or 3 other teams bunted. Even the Orioles. I guess Westburg came up the other night, and I'm watching the game. They're losing. They got to run on first, nobody out. And I'm sitting there going, this, in the old days, Nellie Fox, whoever came up to bat would have bunted. Bunt the guy over second base, get him in scoring position. Of course, he doesn't bunt because they don't let him bunt. They don't want him to bunt.
They want the big inning.
He hit in the ground ball, double play, and essentially the inning was over. So when it drives me nuts, but I mean, it's the way I was taught to play. It's the way I watch people play my whole time growing up. And now the game has changed now where it's more important. But it started changing way back when Earl Weaver was managing the Orioles in the 60s when he stopped bunting, and they asked him why. And he said, because I want 3-run homers. I don't want bunts. I don't want to
say a dink, a blast, a boop, a bloop, a dink, a blast.
Yeah. And he said he did not want to give the other team an out.
Yep.
So, I mean, the Orioles.
Yeah, and now you got all the analytics, the numbers. Numbers talk a lot and not the eye.
Was the same thing. The other thing that I've noticed, and I coached you when you were in Little League, and you had other coaches. And every coach back then, and every coach in Major League Baseball, all through baseball, high school, I don't care where it is, they coached their players to hit the ball, to make contact, and hit the ball the opposite way and up the middle. Because if you try to pull everything, you're going to pull off the ball, strike out, or pop up, or just hit a little weak grounder to the shortstop. Now you can't hit the ball up the middle anymore. Because if you're a left-handed batter, the shortstop's playing right almost behind the bag. And if you're a right-handed batter, the second baseman is. So everything, you hit that ball like a rocket right by the pitcher, and you're going to be out.
Right.
And, I mean, you see it the last couple of years, well, now they've done away with the shift. That's as close to the shift as they can come, is to move those middle infielders right behind the bag. But that's the ball going up the middle anymore is no longer a hit.
Right.
But that's the other thing. The players back in the day, they handled the bat, and if they saw somebody cheating like that, they would try to hit the ball the opposite way. And I mean, it's just like what was the guy? He was one of the best hitters. They asked him about the shift. The year before last, they asked him about the shift, and he said, well, "What do you think? That's new? They tried shifts. They've tried shifts before, but we just hit the ball the opposite way."
So I was watching a Pirates Cubs game back when I'm trying to remember. So Scurry was the pitcher for the Pirates. That's how long ago it was. Early 80s. There was bases loaded, 1 out. Tanner, the manager, that's how long ago. Tanner was the manager of the Pirates. He pulls in one of the outfielders, has 4 fielders on the infield grass, 3 of them on the side of the base of the hitter, because the first hitter was a left-hander. He had 3 guys there, and then he had 3 guys on the other side. So that tells you that this is nothing new right there. Then
Right.
Scurry strikes out 1 and then walks the next guy to lose the game. But anyway, it was just proving like they had 2 outfielders and 4 infielders, and 3 of them on one side of the second base. It's not anything,
And Tampa Bay made the shift popular. They're the ones
Right. That coach, because he knew he had to find ways to get extra outs. He couldn't.
he had to, because they didn't have the hitters to score a lot of runs. They had
Right.
pitching and defense.
Yeah, and I mean, and that was what, once I started playing organized baseball, it was all about not giving up extra outs. No walks, keep the ball in front of you, don't give up a base, and don't give extra outs, because that kills you. So you keep all of that straight. And when you don't have the talent, see, the Dodgers can have a third baseman that has 2 arrows, because that same guy is going to come up and hit a 2-run triple later in the game. Some teams don't have that luxury. Like right now, watching the Mets, Brett Beatty, a second, better not make an error, because he ain't going to do that. So, it just depends. And in this day and age, these guys just try to outslug each other. And I mean, pitching is a premium. I'm going to hate seeing them add 2 more teams to this league and just water down the pitching pool even more, because they need to get rid of 2 teams, not add 2 teams to make pitching.
Yeah, they've got plenty of hitters, but they don't have a whole lot of pitching.
Yeah, hitting. Now, when I was coming up, catching was a good way to get to the majors. Now it's, it was always the shortstop was your best athlete, blah, blah, blah. Center field or shortstop. Now it's, you want your kid to hit the ball. You want him to hit it a long ways and have a strong arm. Those are the 2 things. And everything else, who cares? Who cares if they can field? Who cares if they can handle a bat? Who cares if they throw the ball straight, as long as they throw it hard? That's it. I mean, even when we were watching my nephew play, they coached a lot differently than when I came up, and I'm sure when I came up was differently than when you came up. So, I mean, missing cutoff men on purpose and stuff like that, things that drove me crazy. So, it's a different world. The same game, just done a little differently. That's it. 9 guys on a field. We talk about it all the time, and it drives. That's when we yell at clouds and get off my lawn comes out. But we love the game still. It doesn't matter. We love it because at the end of the day, it's a stick, a ball, and a glove. That's it. What it is. So.
And the Cubs. I watched a couple of the Cubs games, and I'm telling you, the Cubs really look good. And
yeah,
I mean, when they lost those first 2 games to the Dodgers, I said. I looked on the positive side. I had the glass half full thing, and I looked at the positive side, and I said, "This is a good ball club." They just ran into a better ball club in Japan.
It was also in Japan. It was such an atmosphere. To me, it didn't feel like regular season yet. Right now, it's regular season.
Well, that was a celebration more than baseball.
Yeah, and it was a celebration,
and it was huge.
Yes.
But anyway, the Cubs look real good. We talked about the American League Central being the most competitive of all the leagues, of all the divisions. Well, right now, Detroit's leading the division, and everybody else in the league, everybody else in that division has a losing record. So they may be competitive, but that doesn't mean they're good. Right now, as far as competition and good ball clubs, it's the National League West.
Mm-hmm.
The Dodgers have lost 1 game. They're playing Philadelphia today. They lost to Philadelphia the day before yesterday. They beat Philly yesterday. They're playing Philadelphia today. They got 1 loss. The Padres have 2 losses. The 2 losses are to the Cubs. And the Giants have only 1 loss. They're 7-1 going into today's game. The Giants are playing real well. See, the one thing
we talked about the Giants before the season started.
You did. but one thing about the Giants, if you look at their starting pitching, they've got some very good starting pitching. They've got quite a few.
Webb.
They're solid.
Yes.
They're solid.
They're good up the middle. Catcher, second, short, center. They're good.
And I don't know if you saw any of the highlights, but DeGrom pitched last night for Texas. He pitched last night for Texas, and he made it through the 5th, into the 6th inning. And he got roughed up some. He was throwing 92, 93, and they interviewed him after the game, and he said that his problem is his location. He's not worried about the velocity. He's having trouble with location, and it's because he hadn't pitched in so long. But he looked good, and I mean, he threw. He did strike out a few people, but it was more like pitching to contact. In Texas, they did give up a run to tie the game up, and then they won it later on. But they scored some more runs later on. But he's back, so that's going to help Texas in their pitching. Hopefully, he'll stay healthy for a while.
Right.
Houston's not doing very well, like I predicted. I predicted them to finish 3rd in their division, and it might be worse.
Well, I told you when they were playing the Mets, that lineup did not look like Houston's lineup. But Alvarez is the only scary guy in that lineup. Altuve's not the same. They don't have Tucker, which I still don't understand that trade. So
Well, they couldn't pay everybody.
well, they got their first couple of pitchers are still awesome. They got dominant front end pitching, but other than that,
Yeah, and they couldn't pay everybody, and so they let Bregman and they let Bregman go, and they decided to trade Tucker and get something for him instead of waiting for him to go to free agency. And so that's what they did. Houston has won in the past doing this kind of stuff. So who knows? They might have an off year, but come back next year strong, or by the end of this year, they'll be moving. They'll be rolling. You just don't know. That organization has a way of winning. They're one of the few organizations. The other organization that is always good, and they know how to win, even though they don't have the payroll and everything, is Tampa. They're always competitive, and they don't have
the Mets just scored. I was a little happy. Alonso knocked in a run.
They don't have the competitive. They can't compete with some of these slugging teams like the Yankees and all that. But they can still beat the Yankees because they always have pitching and defense.
Right.
So anyway, and my Nationals, they'd only won one game until yesterday. They would have started 1-7 for the first time since 2009. They moved to Washington in 2005, so their 20-year anniversary.
Right.
And in 2009, they started 0-7.
And I mean, they got some high in those first games. Gore looked good. Woods has looked good. Cruz has looked good.
Well, Cruz can't hit. Cruz
he's there for his defense and his. They get that one guy. They get the Robles effect. You got to have one Robles, one guy that can be your Gold Glove outfielder.
Yeah, well, they moved
220.
They moved him to center. They moved him to center and brought up Call. And put Call in right field because he's hitting the ball real well. Moved Cruz to center and took Young out of the lineup.
Yeah. So you can't have two of those guys in the lineup, but you can have one. And Cruz has got a great arm, and he can get everybody. His bat will come around, and everybody will be happy with him. But he might take a couple of years. Let's give the young man a chance. But, I always look for bright spots, especially with the Nationals. We even though I'm a Mets fan, I've watched so many Nationals games. I still have a soft spot for them. Because I think if they're better, it makes everybody. I think if all teams get a little bit better, it makes the game better.
Yeah. If you look at these different standings and all that, that in the American League Central, those teams are going to be competitive with Detroit. Detroit's not going to run away with it.
No.
I can't say that about the National League Central. If you look at the teams in the National League Central, Milwaukee is in bad shape with injuries, and they're having a hard time winning.
Cardinals don't have.
The Cardinals are the Cardinals for the last couple of years, and they're about a 500 club at best. Pirates are the Pirates. Mm-hmm. Cincinnati is not hitting the ball right now with the way they should be, and their pitching is questionable. Their starting pitching, they've got a couple of starting pitchers, and the other three are just questionable. So it's there for the Cubs. I mean, it's right there for the Cubs. I said before the season started, they would have.
And they got one of the best managers.
Was my team to watch, but I picked the Cubs to win the Central.
Yeah, they're one of the best managers in baseball there as well. So he's going to get you a few wins as well.
Yeah, Craig Counsell.
Yeah. So, but anything else before we get out of here today, Dad?
No, I mean it's so early in the year. It's not really. I mean, there's people hitting home runs and leading the league in home runs and all that. Judge is on pace to hit 175 home runs.
Yeah, I would like for him to break the record.
Go ahead.
If I want to root for one guy to do something for the Yankees, that's what I want to root for.
Yeah. And I mean, he's just an outstanding person and a hitter. And
yes.
Player. Anyway, I'm just it's too early to start looking at all that.
And I'm going to, I have a question to throw out there for everyone. I sat here. I like to watch the Mets. I'm watching the Mets now. Saturday night, I turn it on. It's been raining up there. And their field, the outfield, the ball gets hit out there. It looks like it's going through a marsh. I couldn't watch it. I couldn't watch it. Is anybody else out there, like in bad weather, I have trouble watching ball games. I like the nice weather ball games. I don't like rain. If it's raining during the game and the field is not slop, I'm fine with it. But once it gets like that, I can't do it.
Well, they had to postpone the game in Boston yesterday, and they're playing a doubleheader today.
Right? It's cold and it's 110 degrees where I'm at, and up north, it's like they're all wearing winter jackets.
Yeah, well, finally, the cold weather hit the Midwest teams and the Northeast teams because earlier last month when they started in March, it was kind of warm in the United States at the time.
Well, I mean, it's 80 something or 80
It's
today.
84 here, 85. Yeah, but Tuesday night is supposed to be 31. So we're going to have next week the high. I think it's supposed to be 65 all week. 50s in the 60s, and we're going to go back to cold weather. So that's fine. I mean, maybe
I just want to throw that out there. I don't know why. it's hard for me to watch. I don't know why.
Then I'll be rooting for Florida. I'll be rooting for Florida Monday night.
Oh, Florida
over here.
Yeah. With that being said, we're going to leave you today.
Yogiism.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yogi Berra, for some reason, said that 90% of short putts don't go in, and he couldn't explain why he said that. But the other one I like is he said, "Why buy good luggage? You only use it when you travel."
Right.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank y'all for watching. Leave any whatever you want to leave down below. Till next time, like and share. Thanks to the new subscribers, and subscribe if you haven't. And we will see you next time. See you.